This episode of WDW Today is being sponsored by All-Star Vacation Homes. And you know what? When you're looking to get a lot of space for not a lot of price, All-Star Vacation Homes is the perfect solution. You know how many times we hear on the podcast, hey, going down with a group of 6, 8, 10 more people than that, and we want to figure out what's the best deal. And you say, well, you could do this, but a lot of those options at Disney World, they're just so expensive. All-Star Vacation Homes is the perfect option because you're going to get all the space you need for really half, if not less than the price of, much less than the price than a Disney World room. Try them out right now. Go to www.allstarvacationhomes.com.
Bringing the world to your world, this is Walt Disney World Today. Here are Mike Scopa, Len Testa, Mike Newell, and your host, Matt Hochberg.
It's Friday, December 31st, 2010, and this is episode 819 of WDW Today. I'm Matt Hochberg of StudioCentral.com. Joining me on today's show is Mike Scopa, a senior feature writer and blogger for alleears.net. Happy New Year, Mike.
Thanks, Matt. I'd like to take my podcast opening time for this show and give a little shout out to Team All Ears. It's the running team that I co-captain with Michelle Scribner-McLean. We are going to be running in either the 5K, the half marathon, or the full marathon next weekend at Walt Disney World. Some of us are going to be doing all three. Some of us are going to be two. Some of us are going to be doing one. We're doing it to raise money for the Avon Walk for Breast Cancer, and I'd just like to thank all the runners, and I'd like to also ask all the listeners who would be interested in donating to this effort to go to allears.net to find information on how to donate to the team's effort. So thank you, everybody, and good luck. Thanks, Matt.
And Mike, you're running in the race too, right?
I'm running in the half, yeah.
So good luck to you. And Len is running in that too, I believe. So good luck to both of you in that weird fascination you have with running for fun.
And we'll all pray for no snow this year.
Exactly.
Oh, God,
oh,
thanks.
wow, yeah.
Also joining us on today's show is Mike Newell of Mouse World Radio. And Mike, how does Mike Newell ring in the new year?
Probably be shoveling out the rest of my driveway.
Watch out for the front fender of your car.
Oh, man.
No need.
Now the city, for those of you who don't know, my car was kind of beat up with a plow. And the city's like, oh, well, you have nobody actually seen it, so we're not going to pay. So if anybody is listening from the city of New York, except you, Danielle, I still love Danielle.
I think Philip's going to have an issue putting that into the show notes. Mike says,
yeah. How do you spell
that?
Is it 2 T's
also
or one?
joining us on today's show is the fabulous Annette Owens, a manager of customer relations and group services for MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. And Annette, will you be staying up until midnight tonight?
Typically, yes, but some years I try and I fail.
Come on, Annette.
Yeah. I've got a whole bunch of teenagers going to be at the house, so a whole bunch of teenage girls ringing in the new year. That'll be just fun. I'll probably be in my room trying to hide from them.
Well, on today's show, we're going to be talking about getting around Walt Disney World and certainly navigating Walt Disney World, going from park to park, park to resort, resort to resort, resort to park, whatever it may be. It can be kind of confusing for a lot of people depending on which way that you're going to be trying to handle it. And we thought we would share some of our tips for navigating Walt Disney World as a whole and getting around. And, it could be bus tips, driving tips, anything in between, really. The ways that you can help make your next trip to Walt Disney World getting around a little bit easier. So, Mr. Scopa, where would you start for this show?
I think that one of the things I've always said in the past is that sometimes the buses aren't always the best way to get around, Matt, but sometimes they are because they can go places that we can't go with our cars. For instance, we've talked about this many times that getting to the Magic Kingdom is always a challenge. And when you drive to the Magic Kingdom, you drive to the TTC, you get off the TTC, you get on a tram, you go to the front, then you take either the monorail or the boat, and you go across the Seven Seas Lagoon, and you go to you finally get to the Magic Kingdom. Getting out at night is such a drag. However, if you take a bus, let's say you are at, Coronado Springs, and you take a bus, or even better, let's say the Animal Kingdom Lodge, You take a bus, it takes you directly to almost the front of the Magic Kingdom. This is a case where the buses really work to your advantage. Now, obviously, when you leave the theme park at night, you have to wait in line sometimes for a bus. You may end up standing, but sometimes it's quicker than if you had to wait to get on the monorail, to get on the ferry, and then get a tram to get to your car, and then you have to find your car. So that is one of those cases where bus transportation, Disney transportation, can work in your favor.
Yeah, you're just going to avoid that whole monorail and then the parking tram ordeal in the Magic Kingdom by taking the bus, and that really is a huge time saver. Right. I mean, getting out if you're leaving the park during a busy time, like right after the afternoon parade or as the park closes, I mean, yeah, you're gonna have more people to deal with. But on the flip side, Disney also knows this and throws a lot more buses at it. So I guess it's kind of a wash in the end in that you're not. I don't think it's that much more waiting time. And of course, the thing I always tell people is, I don't know why at Disney World this happens, but people are always like, oh, they don't. When all the seats are full, people don't want to wait on the bus. They don't want to stand on the bus. They'll wait for the next one. To which I'm saying, well, if you're going to stand, you might as well be standing on a bus that's getting you closer to where you're going. So always try to squeeze in there, and you get there. You get back to your resort faster. One tip that I always that I have, it's at the studios, it's kind of weird because the main entrance to the studios, if you're driving, is only accessible if you're coming off Disney World property from 192 or I-4. And it's kind of interesting because that's the main entrance. It's got it's like Epcot. It's got all the main. It's got 10 or so entranceways. But the way that most people get to the studios when they're driving is through what I call the back entrance. It's the one that only has 2 lanes of traffic, and it's constantly the most crowded one to try to go to. So my tip is, if you're going during a busier time of the year, like right now that's New Year's Eve. So if you're going to go to New Year's Eve, if you're going to go during Christmas, if you're going during Easter, and you're wary of if you're not going there for exactly park open, if you're going to get there like 10 o'clock in the morning when it's the worst kind of traffic on those roads, it might actually be advantageous for you to leave Disney World property and then come back in so you can take that main entrance where there's not a whole lot of traffic. And that's also good if you're staying off property. Be sure to definitely go through that main entrance because there's never a line over there, but traffic can get really backed up through that quote unquote back entrance by over by the Boardwalk Resort entrance, if that makes any sense.
That is true. I totally agree with that. That's a great tip.
Yep.
Yeah, it really bugs me. I wish they would really redo that. It just makes no sense.
Well, let's not tell everybody then. I want to get in fast too.
One thing I always have, a lot of people, who drive for the first time, who rent a car, they've been taking Disney bus, and they're always worried about getting lost in Disney World property. Let's talk a little bit about that because I think the thing I always tell people is that even if you get lost, if you ever pay attention, if you let's say you're going to the studios and you miss the turn for the studios, obviously, the next major intersection or whatever, you're going to see a sign that says Disney Hollywood Studios. So you never should feel like you're going to end up in the middle of Podunk and have no idea where to go. I mean, you really have to try to get lost if you're driving there because there are signs everywhere. Even if you miss your turns, there'll be a sign eventually on that same road. Hey, here's how you go back to, wherever you were trying to get to. So you should really be, don't be afraid to drive, I guess, if you are looking at renting a car or driving on Disney World property because it's not as bad as you think.
The only way you can really get...
I almost feel like it's almost somewhat a circle. Somehow or another, even if you kind of miss something, there's always a way to... You make one turn and, oh, there I am. Boom.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the only way you can really get lost is if you get on one of the highways. If you get on 4 or 417 and you're going off property, that's the only way you can really get lost.
Yeah, but I mean, on property, if you just follow the signs, and if you next time you're on Disney World property, just pay attention. Next time, you're not actually going there, but let's say you were going on the bus and you're going from your resort to Epcot, and you pass by the studios on your way, you're going to see as soon as you pass by the studios a sign for Disney Hollywood Studios this way. If you go to same thing for all the other parks and everything. So it's important to that shouldn't be a reason to keep you from renting a car, I would say.
And we've done that, Matt. I'll be in a car with you, and you'll say, "Why are you going this way?" And I'll be like, "This is the way I know." Meanwhile, There's 5 other ways to get there. It's just, some ways are easier for me to remember, and some ways are actually direct ways. But there's more than one way to get anywhere on property.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. What are some other tips for navigating around Walt Disney World?
See, I'm going to take it back to the very beginning and just say that this is one of the tips that we give our clients for Magical Express. I'm just going to take you from the airport to the resorts. A lot of people get off the plane and they want to be in Disney World. They don't want to have to sit and wait for 3 hours before they get to their resort, or 2 hours. So don't forget that since it's free, you can always opt to use Magical Express to come back when you don't mind taking a little bit of time. You're tired, you just want to get back to the airport.
Right.
But you can always take a taxi or some kind of private transfer over, which will get you directly to your resort, and most of the time will get you into the parks a good 45 minutes to an hour earlier.
That's a great tip right there.
So, and it all depends. I mean, it could be that you just happen to be the first stop for Magical Express. And you know what? You're never at the resort with me because I'm always the last resort stop on Magical Express.
Yeah, it's Magical Express roulette.
Yes. And so I know that's taking it way back to the beginning of getting there, but,
That's a great tip.
It's just an option.
It's something to keep in mind. I think a lot of people in that might think that if you don't take Magical Express going there, you forfeit your ticket coming back.
Right, and that's not the case.
Absolutely. One tip I also like to share is, with the boats, the boats, the friendship boats that go between the Boardwalk Resorts and Epcot and Hollywood Studios. Those are kind of, speaking of roulette, it's kind of a weird thing. You really have to know exactly where you want to go because they're great tools, but I don't think they're very good time savers. In terms of getting from point A to point B. They're nice to go to, but they make so many stops in between that, if you're trying to, like a lot of people say, oh, I want to go see Fantasmic, and then go over to Epcot to see Illuminations or, something like that. And the boat seems like the most obvious idea because it's going to be there's a boat that goes right between the two things. But the problem is it stops at so many different resorts in between that you really need to give yourself plenty of time and use friendship boats really as a leisurely means of transportation, not the most efficient means of transportation.
And here's a little tidbit, because this is what I generally do. I'll take the boat over the Swan and Dolphin and then walk it.
That makes sense.
Or go over to the Yacht or Beach, whichever one they go to first, get off and then walk into Epcot, because you're making that 2 stops at the Yacht and Beach or the Boardwalk. So, if you're going from one to the other, get off and walk.
Yeah, you can save yourself a little bit of walking.
Yeah.
That's a good tip. I like that. Another tip for the buses at Fort Wilderness, if you're driving and you're going from Fort Wilderness from the Outpost, which is where the cars park, to the settlement, which is where like Hoop-de-Doo is and Trails End, it doesn't matter what bus you take. Just take the first bus. There's like 3 lines. There's the purple, yellow, and orange. Doesn't matter which one you take. Just take and the first one that comes there. They'll all eventually end up in the settlement. So that way, if that's your destination, it doesn't matter. Just pick first bus you go to.
And don't walk to look at lights with Matt, because that's a long hike from the back to the front.
That was
very
fun.
Entertaining. It was. And it got really dark.
I don't know.
We
about
met such
that.
colorful people.
Yeah, it wasn't a romantic stroll either, Matt. Just saying.
What are some other tips for navigating Walt Disney World that you guys
one
think
of
to
the
share?
one of the things that happened to me one time is that I was watching a show in front of the castle, and all of a sudden I looked at my watch and it was a little bit past 11, and I said, "Oh my goodness, I've got a 12 o'clock ADR at Rose and Crown." So I tried to figure out how best to do this, and I had really planned to be in the Magic Kingdom for Extra Magic Hours evening. So I was trying to figure out how best to handle this. So I decided to go to the front of the park and take a bus to Beach and Yacht Club. And so I took the bus, got off at Beach and Yacht, walked through International Gateway, bang, I was right there for Rose and Crown, had my lunch, and then I just went back to Beach and Yacht, took a bus back to the Magic Kingdom, and spent the rest of the day there. Sometimes you need to take advantage of the placement of Beach and Yacht Club and Boardwalk and know that you can get to the World Showcase area of Epcot from Magic Kingdom rather quickly if you take the bus. The other thing you could do is I could have taken the monorail, but I wanted to get to the World Showcase area of Epcot as quickly as possible.
That's a great tip. It definitely makes sense, to know not only where you're going, but where exactly you're going. Like Mike just said, if you're going, there's a difference between going to World Showcase. If your final destination is World Showcase, it's a little different than if you're going to, Future World, because there's a lot of walking in between if you just assume that you're going to the front entrance of Epcot.
Yep.
I'm just going to add to that, because this is something we learned in the the nice little race we did in December. Things you don't think about getting over to Epcot in a hurry.
Uh-huh.
The TTA area is where you're going to find a taxi from the Magic Kingdom
TTC
over to Epcot. So but you gotta plan accordingly, because we came out of the park in a hurry over to Epcot. And if you did have to go by taxi from the Magic Kingdom over to some other location, you're going to have to go over there. You're going to have to take a monorail over, or do the 5-minute walk or the 1-minute run to the Contemporary and pick up a taxi there. So it's a little different. And I know we were talking bus transportation and stuff, but I thought I'd mention that since we ran into that problem in December.
That's good. That's a good tip.
Yeah.
Well, every other park, they're in front. The taxis are right there, but
Right,
Magic
exactly.
Kingdom.
Yeah, the Magic Kingdom's a little different. Good point. Let me ask you guys this question. This is something that Disney always says, and I never believe them. According to Disney, the travel time, if you're going from the TTC to the Magic Kingdom, is the same regardless if you take the monorail or the boat, the ferry. Do you guys believe that?
Say that again.
Is that the Express, Matt, or the?
Yeah, the express and the
big
ferry.
one, the big ferry.
It's the same
And
time.
I never believe that because I think the problem is, well, maybe if they both left at the same time, I could kind of believe that, maybe.
No.
But the problem with the ferries, it always seems like it sits at the port forever.
It takes forever to fill it. Yeah.
Forever?
That's the problem. It's not so much that like the time it like once it leaves, okay, it's kind of timely. It just takes forever to load. That's my opinion. I don't know, what do you guys
Load
think
and
of that?
unload. I think you're right on that. Load and unload takes forever because if you're the last one on it, obviously it doesn't take so long to load, but you're the last one off.
Right.
But
Exactly.
on the monorail, you're loading once, and you're going through everything, and then you're stopping at the Magic Kingdom. So I can't see how the boat could match the.
No,
Monorail.
I don't believe it either. And another thing is, it's got to maneuver into the dock on the other side, and they always slowed really slow to do that. And I don't think it's this. It can't be the same time.
It also takes longer to walk from the ferry to the turnstiles or to the security area
that is true.
than it does from the monorail to the security area.
We should time that. We should actually do a Len and time that.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing.
Time that?
It just,
Henry,
on the Twitter account for Walt Disney World, the official, it's twitter.com/Walt Disney World, says, tip, in just as much time as it takes to ride the monorail, ferry boat to Magic Kingdom offers a great view of Cinderella Castle and Seven Seas Lagoon.
I agree. The view is better.
Yeah. Time.
But you don't go. You don't go through the Contemporary either. But time, no. Time is definitely.
But you know what? They do tell you that when there's a line for the monorail, when it's kind of everybody seems to be going on the monorail and the ferry boat's coming in, there'll be cast members there telling you, "Oh, this is just as quick."
I'm
Just as
thinking-
quick. Then you get on the boat and you go, "That was not the case."
I'm thinking that's their way of trying to spread out the wait
Yeah.
time and
Of course.
it can't be. It can't be the same time.
Right. That's what I'm saying. All right, good. I'm glad we're all on the same page about that. What are some other travel tips? I know that you guys. Let's look back at rental cars. I know a lot of all of us, will, in fact, rent rental cars quite a bit. What are your? Let me ask you guys. This isn't relevant to me so much as I know Annette definitely, but Mike, perhaps either of you could chime in. GPSs. Do you find the GPSs are useful in Walt Disney World?
I bring mine all the time.
I don't use it.
Oh, that explains a lot, Annette.
I don't need one.
No, but it's nice to have in case you go off property.
Yeah, it's nice to have. I mean, if you have a smartphone, you probably can get an app for one. So.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
I did use the phone to get me to the Verizon store off property. But
Yeah.
yes, no.
For off
No.
property.
Well, do you use on Disney World property? I mean, does it know like if you want to go to like Animal Kingdom? Does it know where it is or like the different resorts?
Yeah, all the resorts are pretty much well labeled. The roads are well labeled. I have when Mary is with me and she needs to go to the gym, and we have the car, she'll take the GPS and have it programmed for Saratoga Springs. So it's
So that's, all right, that's good to know. So if you are a little weary about driving, the good news is GPS has the information that you're going to need over
it's
there.
easy enough to carry around, and it can't hurt to bring it if you have it.
Other tips for navigating Walt Disney World.
If you plan to, let's say you're at Port Orleans or Dixie Landings, and is it Dixie Landings? It's not Dixie Landings anymore. Riverside. Oh my God!
Wow. Come back to the future.
Wow, 94 is calling.
You want to go to downtown Disney on a weekend? I would take the boat.
Yes.
The one thing we haven't talked about is going from resort to resort, which can be tricky. Don't forget that depending on your resort, if it's located, if where you're trying to get to, say you're trying to go from Animal Kingdom over to Riverside, think about what's close to that downtown Disney. Maybe you could take a boat over or take a bus, get a bus from there to go to Riverside. That's the hardest thing when you don't have a car, is trying to get from one resort to the other. That becomes, in my opinion, the biggest challenge, getting around property.
Yeah, it makes, if you're planning on doing a lot of resort hopping, and we're not talking about going from like Epcot to Boardwalk. If you want to go to like Port Orleans, and you want to see how Bob one night, and then you want to go to Animal Kingdom Lodge to go check out, a restaurant there, and you want to go to, Caribbean Beach to rent a water vehicle. I mean, the bottom line is having a rental car is going to make your life so much easier, because with Disney transportation, it's very difficult. It just takes, you're going to be looking at upwards of an hour, really, to get from point A to point B, really, because you're going to have to keep on transferring. You have to go like point A to point A1 and then over to point B.
And you really have to have a couple of different plans in mind, because you never know which bus might show up first. So is it better to go to a theme park or to downtown Disney and then change buses there,
A great point, yeah.
Yeah, you always have to be thinking ahead.
One thing I always say, if you're staying at the All-Star Resorts, I always like staying at All-Star Sports, because the reason why I say that is because when the buses come to All-Star Resorts in the morning or anytime really, they first come to All-Star Sports. And if they fill up at All-Star Sports, then they just go to wherever their destination is. They don't go to the other two resorts. So, and All-Star Sports tends to be the least crowded of the All-Star Resorts. Therefore, you're going to have less competition and a more higher chance, I feel, of getting a bus to wherever you're going. So that's why I like staying, when I'm staying in an All-Star Resort, I stay at Sports. I know the theme isn't as cool as the other ones, but that being said, if you're looking for the most efficient use of your time, especially for transportation, I think Sports is definitely the way to go.
Yeah, I totally agree with that too.
So, do any of you do this? Let's say you have plans to be in Epcot for Extra Magic evenings, and so what you'll do is you'll still get up, not quite as early as normal, but let's say you get up about 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, drive over to Epcot, park your car in the parking lot, take the monorail to the Magic Kingdom, spend whatever time you intend to spend at the Magic Kingdom, then come back to Epcot to spend the rest of your evening at Epcot, including Extra Magic hours. And then when you leave Epcot, your car is there in the parking lot. But because you were there early in the morning, your car is that much closer to the park, so you don't have to walk that far at the end of the day. Have you ever done that?
Yeah, you're talking. Yeah, I guess I would answer that. It depends. Assuming that it's not like let's say your plan you just mentioned. You're gonna end your day at Epcot. Assuming I didn't have something I had to do in Magic Kingdom that morning, say ADR somewhere for breakfast.
Right.
If time wasn't of the essence, then yeah, that would make sense to leave your car, your rental car, at the place so you'll end up at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do that too. Do you do that, Noel?
Yeah, I actually do that.
Okay, yeah, it's a good tip. If it works out to you, it might be advantageous to go park your car at wherever you're gonna be at the end of the day,
right? And
then use Disney transportation in the meantime. But again, I don't think it'd work out as well as, say, I wanted to end at Epcot and start my day in Animal Kingdom, because it would just be, that would be a real pain in the butt really to get over there. But like I said, Magic Kingdom was a great idea.
Yeah.
So
well, here's one thing. I don't know if this is part of it, but I noticed this when I was there about a week and a half ago. Mm-hmm. I was going to Epcot in the morning, and I pulled in the front, and I'm sure this happens to everybody. You're saying, "Oh, I'm hoping that I get the parking spot, like 2 or 3 or 4 parking spots, or maybe even I'll take even 10 parking spots from where the tram picks you up." And you end up, behind a bunch of people, and the next thing you know, the cast member's saying, "All the way down to the end, all the way down to the end." And so if you're parking in Epcot and you do that, especially on the left-hand side as you're looking at the park, instead of walking from the far end of that row all the way to, you come out of your car and you walk to the right all the way to the tram, if you just cut down through where the kennel is, I think, that's a short walk compared to going to the tram and then waiting for the tram.
And anytime that happens, Mike, what I'll do is I'll just walk straight, like the way the car's pointed. And like in Epcot, if you're on the right side, if you walk not to where the tram goes, but if you walk straight all the way down the end, you wind up where the buses come. And it's not, obviously it can get crowded if a bus pulls in, but you're not dealing with tram traffic. So it's actually a nice walk. If you just go straight, you cut across all the lanes, you skip the tram, and you go right. You walk right through where the buses park.
I got. Speaking of that, that reminded me of 2 more tips for the studios parking. One, like you just said, Mike, if you're parking in the stage parking lot,
That's Annette's
and you
favorite.
park all the way at the end. What's that,
That
Mike?
is Annette's parking spot.
That's Annette's
Yep.
favorite.
No, Net's parking spot is in music all the way at the end.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
That's it.
no,
Sorry.
in the stage parking lot, if you park all the way at the right, you go, oh man, I got to walk all the way back to get to the tram. Actually, what you should do is you walk straight, like Mike said, like towards the park,
Right.
And you can actually cut across to like where the downtown Disney buses pick up over there,
Right.
And you can cut right across and go straight. It's much faster than walking all the way to the tram, then try to get on the tram, and then have the tram bring you over there.
Right.
My other tip is if you're driving yourself to the studios and you get to this is more useful for the film lot, parking lot. You get to the film lot and you see, oh man, we're going to park all the way at the end. They're just starting a new row. They're going to send you all the way down to the end. Who wants to do that, right? Because then you got to walk like half a mile back to the parking trams. Well, the thing you can do actually is just keep driving straight. Not like you go like you're going to go park, but don't actually park your car. Go straight as if you're going to leave the lot. Like change your mind. Forget about this. And what you can actually do is you'll when you do that, you'll come back to the lane, the road that brings you around, and you can actually keep driving around in loops until the parking spot is more desirable. Does that make sense?
Oh, okay. I see what you mean.
So you keep on going around. You go back around, and hopefully enough cars will have come by to park that your new spot in that row is going to be closer to the parking trams.
Okay.
Hopefully that makes
I
sense.
see Matt doing that and going, suckers. And just going around.
It only really works during a busy time in the morning, for instance, because if you go like in the middle of the day and there's like 2 cars, all you're going to do is you're going to have 2 cars spots better.
Yeah.
But if you're going there in the morning when there's a lot of different traffic, you can usually that'll get you a much better spot. So something to keep in mind. Are there any of those the walking tips we just said for like Epcot, Mike mentioned and I just mentioned for the studios? Is there anything like that where you can walk faster than taking the tram in either Animal Kingdom or the Magic Kingdom?
I don't know about
so.
The Magic Kingdom definitely not, because obviously you have to go to the TTC one way or the other.
Yeah.
Animal Kingdom.
I don't think so, because there's only like one area where you can walk. It's not like you can take
Yeah.
advantage of the curvature of the path to the front of the park.
Yeah. And I think in both Animal and Magic Kingdoms, you're just stuck just going with the parking tram in that case.
Yep.
And of course, with all the parks, if you come as late enough in the daytime, depends on the time exactly, but generally late afternoon, early evening. If you're driving yourself, generally you can always pull ahead. I should say always, but you generally can pull ahead to fill up spots that have been emptied, because usually by a certain point in the evening, the cast members leave and it's kind of like a free-for-all for parking.
Right.
And that's good, because then you can pull all the way up ahead and fill in a spot that's been long gone since the morning. And that's another good one if you're driving yourself. One thing I would say is, you're on the bus and you get on the bus, try to sit by those back doors, because those are double doors that open up. I think it's easier to get out when you get to the park or wherever you're going than if you're in the front, because in the front you only have that single door to get through, and you're kind of jammed up. There's a choke point between that hump for the wheel well and the driver, so it's really narrow over there. But those double doors, if you sit in those seats right across from them, it's it's much easier, I find, to get out of the bus that way.
Yeah, they try and encourage you to leave out of the back doors and enter in the front.
Right. I guess that'll do it for us today. Want to remind all of our listeners that this show is sponsored by All Star Vacation Homes. And hey, if you're looking for a great tip for saving a lot of money on Walt Disney World trip and get a lot of great amenities like a private pool, your own private pool, full kitchen, game room, movie room, All Star Vacation Homes has all of that. They got all those great amenities, and the best part is the price. You know what? Go to allstarvacationhomes.com right now. Go take a look around. Price some things out. You're going to look at what you get, and you're going to see the price. You're going to say, wow, how can we not take advantage of that? Try them out. www.allstarvacationhomes.com. To find our older episodes, read our show notes, or send us your comments, you can visit us online at wdwtoday.com. For Len Testa, Mike Scopa, Mike Newell, and the fabulous Annette Owens, I'm Matt Hochberg. We'll see you on the next show.
Stupid Judy, stupid energy.
This has been a production of Mouse World Radio.